Alright, how are ya? It's the Gaming Geezer here, and today we're diving into the most important decision you'll make in Civ 6, where to plop down that first settler. Whether you're a seasoned deity player or just starting your first game, picking the perfect settling location can mean the difference between a Golden Age empire and a medieval Dark Age. So let's crack on, shall we? So, first off then, why does it even matter? Well, your first city is the foundation for your entire empire. It dictates your growth, your production, your science, basically everything that keeps you from being trampled on by that one AI who thinks warmongering in the ancient era is a personality trait. So, gotta set up strong with your settle, and it starts right from the beginning. What tile do you settle on? So the first thing we're noticing with this settle, I've just gone for a random sieve, by the way, just loading in the game, just for example purposes, and this is the very first example that I've got, and it's an interesting one actually because we're on the coast. However, we've got all of these really abundant citrus tiles, a little further away from our initial settling location. So there's two quite important things to consider when settling. Ideally, you want to settle on the first turn. Um, waiting one extra turn to settle, it can cost you quite a lot. Um, you never know where the other AI is. Like when you're moving, basically the game's determined a certain set distance from you and the other AI players. The more you move, the more likely you could be to be nearer to another AI, which is obviously not what you want necessarily to start the game. And you're looking at those first early tiles primarily where you want to settle. If you can settle on a plains hill tile and get that extra production in your capital, that's going to be ideal. You don't always have that. We don't have that option with this start, and of course we want to be near the fresh water. So we do actually have the option of having not just fresh water but also a coastal start with a pretty good harbour as well. We've got the fish there, which is giving adjacency to the harbour. You could get a commercial hub down as well next to that and have a really nice commercial hub harbour combination, which would be quite considerable as a start option just to settle on the tile we're on, because you know with the Civ I've got, she would definitely benefit from this. However, the other thing really, while we're there with that, always use your warrior before you settle. Always see what else there is. Try and move the warrior as efficiently as possible. See as much tiles as you can as possible, so you can take the best decision possible. Yeah, that's very, very, very key. So we've got three major concerns to think about. We've got food production and your sort of general positioning relative to where whatever else you can see on the map that may be of interest to you. Other AI, natural wonders, particularly good tiles, whatever it is. So first of all, with this particular settle, we've got access to two wheat resources nearby, which aren't great tiles initially. It's only a 2-1 tile. Ideally, we'd like much higher yields than the tiles we're actually settled next to. So this settle is an interesting one because I'd personally be tempted to actually move away from the coast and get a little bit closer to these food tiles here. Particularly these citrus, they're never going to get worked by this capital. I could not early enough for it to make a difference anyway at this distance. So it's a temptation to either settle near to them or make that your second city, but you really want that first city to have as much possible yields on those early tiles that it's working. So in this particular settle, that to me probably looks like it's best off to move. That sounds a little like it is. It's definite. It's not a complete. It's one of those settles where it really depends on whether you want to see, like, settle thinking more into the future, how will this settle look like, 30-40 turns down the line? Well, if I settled here in 30 or 40 turns, this would probably be a stronger settle. But if I settled more over here, those first early turns would be stronger, and that to me is probably the most like important thing. So I'd be tempted to go here, and then maybe settle on the second turn. And then I've got access to this 3 production heals. I've got access to this 4 food, and I've taken a turn to do it, but to me it kind of feels worthwhile. I've got these heals I could work later and get mines up and stuff, and I've got access to stone, and I'll eventually get access to this other citrus as well. This isn't a cut and dry settle. The first settle is definitely a good option as well, but to me this feels like the best settle for those reasons. I've got access to some really nice yields there. Okay, so here is another example, another interesting option. This time we actually do have access to the lucrative Plains Hill tile, and we do actually have 2 of those tiles. However, because they are on woodland, it would cost additional movement. So moving from the place here actually does come with quite a significant cost, and we also have to consider we've got these quite low quality desert tiles. We'll use our warrior to scout a little further. 2 gold, which is an interesting prospect. You kind of want them to be more on the edge, because you really don't want these tiles early. We've got these juicy production tiles. Settling on here, we'd have a 2-2 capital, very significant, with a free production and 1 food. It kind of looks like a no-brainer, but I am also thinking, you could just move across the river and have access to this immediately, and then have access to 2-3 production tiles. But the thing to consider is the tile you settle on that becomes your capital's yields. It's extremely important that the yields coming into your capital on that settle are good, because you're just getting those for free. You're not working those of any population, you're just getting those for free. This is why it's also very considerable to settle on luxuries if you have the choice. In this settle, we don't have that choice. It's always good to settle on a luxury, sell those off to other civs early, and get gold, buy workers, buy settlers, buy whatever you want. Early gold, I've spoken about this in my other videos. Early gold is premium no matter what. But so is early faith. And every time I see desert or tundra, and it's like not crippling my start in any meaningful way, but it's sort of like there on the outer rings, or an option to settle slightly nearer to if I wanted to, I'm always thinking about those pantheons. I'm always thinking about desert folklore, and always thinking about Dance of Aurora. To me here, that is, I mean, there's not quite enough desert to get a good desert folklore start, despite the fact that the civ I've chosen randomly does actually benefit from a religion. She doesn't have a benefit to getting a religion faster, so there's no or a pantheon faster for that matter. So I'm not thinking about desert folklore with this start. This is kind of one of those, like, it's kind of a no-brainer. You settle on the spot, you get a 2-2 capital, and you've got access to mountains, so you're probably going to squeeze out quite a decent campus as well at some stage, and a holy site. I'll probably get a holy site down here, and then I can get a commercial hub here later, and we're getting additional adjacency on the holy site like that, and things are going well. Another thing to consider, though, is there is actually also quite a significant amount of rainforest below this, and you can actually have the pantheon that gives you additional holy site adjacency from rainforest. That is definitely a consideration here too. I could have one, literally here maybe, or there, but this to me just seems like the no-brainer settle. I could have moved up and gone near the coast and cost a turn to do that, and had this sheep and had this gold access, but for me, this is 100% one of those no-brainer ones. So here we have probably what most people would consider a bit of a scuffed start, but we're going to see what we could do with it anyway. Personally, I'd probably consider restarting something like this, unless I'm playing a Civ that's, particularly focused around the tundra. But you don't necessarily. Sometimes it's good to tough it out, just to challenge yourself, push yourself a little bit. So we're going to look at this and what I'd think to do with this. Obviously, like I mentioned in the last video, if I'm playing a religious Civ, or a Civ that's got an advantages to getting early Pantheons or something like that, this is definitely a Dance of the Aurora game. High potential for big adjacency holy sites, and I'm thinking about that right off the bat. However, the tiles we've got nearby on an immediate settle, they're awful. they're literally awful. I mean, you've got 2 yield, 1 yield, 2 yield. They are quite nice tiles, but not on Tundra and not for Poland. So your immediate sort of first instinct is really just move away a little bit, get out of this Tundra a little bit. So we're going to move the warrior away from the Tundra and have a little bit of look further down here. So even these tiles are, they're not amazing. Basically, you're not going to have the best start here, but you're going to make the best of it. So to me, what that says is probably settle here. At least you'll have a 2 production tile there, and you'll also have this maze tile here, which is at least a 4-year tile, 4 yield tile. So this it's obviously not ideal. You could spend another turn and move a little bit further, and I'd certainly say that would be a temptation for me as well if I wasn't going to restart a game like this. But it can be salvaged if you do get that Dance of the Aurora Pantheon, and you could turn this into a very, very strong religious game. And you do still have access to the river, so you're going to have decent commercial hubs. And yeah, it's definitely, on a scale of 1 to 10, this is like a 2 out of 10 or a 3 out of 10 start. Not ideal, but with some careful planning about where you're going to put your holy sites down and your first ring of yields, you can make it work a little bit. Okay, so what we have here, unlike the other settles, is a bit more of a clear mountain range. We've got obsidian tiles, and we've got what looks to be like a relatively significant desert in size, and nearby we've got this plains hills with a rainforest, a hill next to that, and more rainforest around, and this rather juicy looking diamonds tile, which is a 6 yield tile. Very nice. Tempted to move the warrior up 1 tile just to scout up this more viable land, but I do want to use the movement because I want to see a bit more general. We can move a bit more on this flat desert. So, of course, like I spoke about before with the other settles, we've got the desert here. We could be thinking about desert folklore. But realistically, it's an interesting one, because I could just move here and okay, there's two tempting things to do here. I move up 1 and I settle on the Plains Hill for that lucrative 2-2, but I don't have much information about what else is up there. I could settle here have access to the fresh water, have a bit of a sort of bum first ring because I've got these desert tiles, but I can pretty much see I'm going to have quite a chunky holy site or campus there early. Very, very good. I want that. And I'm going to have access to this very, very chunky diamonds tile. Or I move up one and take a chance. I want to take as little risk as possible with the settle. I want that first city to have a very, very strong start. So I'm going to move, take a turn, and then settle in place on turn 2. That, to me, is the best bet. I've got a 2-1 capital. I've got access to the obsidian that I can work. And I've got a nice little mines tile just to start me off. It's not ideal, but I feel that that was probably the best possible decision, considering, you know, mostly these mountain tiles having this adjacency potential. Whenever you see mountain tiles, you're thinking, I'm going to have good campuses and I'm going to have good holy sites. And those two things are very, very important early on. You want science early, you want faith early, especially if you're going anywhere close to a religion. And yeah, I'd say that's the best settle for this one. It's not a total no-brainer. I've tried to pick settle locations that aren't clear cut. You know, sometimes it's really obvious. I'll just settle in place, and it's the best possible thing. But those aren't interesting to talk about. I want to get into those settles that, you know, are more difficult even for seasoned players, but, you know, especially for newer players. You know, what's best, because you want to set yourself up strong for a game. You know, you're sitting here playing this game potentially for, you know, 5-6 hours. You want to get the first turns right, you know. So there you have it. Settling smart is the key to setting yourself up for success in Civilization 6. I'm sure a lot of these tenants and premises are going to carry over to Civ 7 as well. Just don't drop your settler anywhere. You know, you have to think it through, and you'll thank me when you're leading in the science race or conquering your neighbours later on down the line. So if you found this helpful, please don't forget to give me a like, hit that subscribe button, and let me know in the comments about your worst settling mistakes. We've all been there. Until next time, keep it clever, keep it strategic, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.